Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Daybreak Extra coming to you live from our studio in the city of Abuja. And before we went on a break, we had an interesting, call in about dieting, but now we'll be heading or moving on to artists of the day. And understanding the topic that we'll be covering today will be understanding the creativity and value of art. Now, painting is the expression of ideas and emotions with the creation of certain aesthetic qualities in a two-dimensional visual language. To help us, have a better understanding of the creativity behind his art is Obiechina Stein John. He is a creative art and an entrepreneur, and his artwork cuts across all medium, which is really interesting. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
So take us, through your inspiration, how you find yourself being a painter.
Okay. Inspiration cuts across human experiences. So most of our inspirations are rooted from the things we go through in our daily lives. Say, for example, art in the West is actually inspired by politics, sometimes by fashion, sometimes by music. When you come to Africa, art usually is inspired by pain, by history, by culture, and by progressive societies. When a society advances from one previous stage to the next stage, you find that the experience in the middle of this transition is what creates the inspiration for art. So for artists, art is language for us. So in order to express this language, it's not like spoken language. Well, spoken language, in terms of art, it's more of poetry. The written language of art is where you find writing and novels. The visual aspect is where you try to express your imagination in a way people can see it and understand it, whether it be politically, whether it be emotionally, whether you are grieving or whether you are expressing something beautiful in another dimension. So it's usually, the inspiration comes from the environment because the factors that play in the mind are subject to the environment of the artist.
Okay, so how did you become an artist? Was it self-taught or did you learn it? Did you go through school?
No, it was self-taught. I actually became an artist. I kind of feel like I was born already knowing art, and I can't actually pinpoint a foundation. I've always wanted to express myself artistically, irrespective of the fact that I studied something else in school. But it's like a call to you inside you. It keeps coming back to remind you, okay, this is who you are, and someday you have no choice other than to invest yourself in it and find out, okay, how do I express this call? And when you explore mediums of which you can do that, then the artist comes out fully.
Okay, so what kind of art? What kind of art do you do? What does your work represent?
My work is usually expressive, although I kind of would love on a daily basis that Nigerians are less about the aesthetics and more about the art, because mostly what we practice here is aesthetics, but we think it's art and it's not art. So let's say somewhere like in Europe, if you go to some of the galleries, some Nigerians see some artworks there. Maybe you just take, for example, you see an entire picture with just 2 circles of colors in it, and the Nigerian will be wondering, okay, what is this? Yeah, but because we are more keen on the aesthetics, how it beautifies the environment rather than what it says to us. So my kind of art is it's cut across all platforms. I use every medium I can find to create art, and I do not see art limited to just paintings, drawings, or sculpting. There is art in business, There is art in philosophy. There is art in something I call an intelligent conversation, where you and someone exchange knowledge in a very, very civil manner. It's a form of art to be able to keep your emotions and every form of bigotry aside, your background, your history, and say, okay, let's go on a plain mental canvas and have a conversation and exchange ideas, irrespective of backgrounds, roots, religions, or where we are coming from. These are all forms of art. So I find these things as art as well. If you do a research on most of the great artists in the world, you find very, very, very weird exhibitions. You find exhibitions of people who have sat down and said, okay, look, I'm going to sit here, and they put a sign in front of you and they say, cut me with a razor blade. Yes. And that is a form of
art?
Yes, that is a form of art too.
Cut me with a razor blade?
Yes, there's a razor blade in front of you and the person says, just do a cut. Anywhere you want, cut it. And people find it bizarre, insane, but you do realize the art comes from the fact that you are now contemplating, why should I do this? Why should I not do this? The moment you start doing that, the art has begun. So it's an art of human character. Who is going to pull through the mental struggle of saying, okay, I'll be brave enough to cut this person.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So
okay, I would want to tap in your brain. You mentioned that Nigerians are not, keen on the meaning behind the art. So just at the, on your TV, that you can see what does that symbolize, because all I can see is a lot of colors.
So can you go back? Can you go back to the previous art?
Yes, please. Okay, what is this? I can see 3 circles. Now don't blame me. I'm a Nigerian.
And what?
And there's square.
And two rectangles.
Yes, and there's red in between the blue and white and pink.
Okay. So there's a small definition I have, which is not, I won't say it's factual, it's a definition from me, myself, which I say, art is born from nothing, absolute nothing. So if we can express what we call a 3-dimensional way of thinking, where we say, let us, for a split second, position ourselves as God. You can take it from the Quran, you can take it from the Bible, you can take it from any religion you want in the world. And you say you position yourself as God, and you go to the very beginning of anything before there was anything. It starts with nothingness, emptiness, a dark void. And out of it, everything you see right now could be God's expression of what he likes as art. So most times when I do, like what you saw there, it's an abstractive work. It was a work for a client, and they wanted me to play around some abstractive things, and so I said, okay, fine, I will do some random stuff that to you may make no sense, but it's because I placed my mind in this place where there was nothing, and I said, okay, whatever comes first as an image, I represent, and that's why it's abstraction. It just comes from nothing. Now, I recall about 20 to 30 years ago, growing up in Nigeria, most of our folks saw art as demonic because they could not interpret certain things that you put on the canvas. But it's not tied to anything spiritual. It's just the very moment where your mind is empty. What is the first form of expression you can put on a plain surface visually? And that's what I came up with.
Okay, so you actually said something. You talked about making art for your clients, even though it doesn't mean anything to them.
Okay.
Yes. But shouldn't art have a meaning for the clients themselves and
So,
not the artist?
To me, the artist, my arts are like children. For me, they're like my children. So it's not just what it means for me, it is me. It is me living to people. It is a part of me. It is why we put our signatures on them, because this is part of us. This is when we go, when we are dust and nothing is left of us anything you can remember us by is pictures, memories, and the art piece. So for them, the clients, art is always interpreted by two people, which is one, the person who sees the art for what it is, and two, the person who sees the art as they are. So most of my, like I said, Nigerian clients, we are all into the aesthetics. So they tell you, okay, I want warm colors. And most times when I'm working for some of them, other than the works I do in terms of exhibition, if I have to do works for client, I put in requests and ask questions of, okay, how do you want the art to make you feel? Do you want to sit down and just stare at it in a puzzled thought and wonder, okay, or do you want to just, at the end of the day, have something to look at and feel a bit, relaxed from everything you went through that day? So it is subject to mostly what the clients want in this part of the world.
Now, did that picture you just painted just make me remember a movie? Movies where you see people with their wine glass just looking at pictures, staring at it for a long time.
Trying to understand what the picture is saying.
And it's in your house. I'm like, what are you doing? It's been there. Okay, so you mentioned exhibition, and I am of the knowledge that you are having an exhibition in New York.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes.
And so we would want you to tell us, because mostly let's start with Nigeria, for us to know the value of the paint and the artwork.
Is it okay if you put it up?
Of course, I'm sure they would maybe try to put something up, and then we can go on with that.
Okay. I don't know if the picture can come up, so I explain it better. The art it's priceless. It's priceless because irrespective of the fact there's a value tied to it, it's priceless because it came at a moment where I was in a mental despair. That is because it was painted before the election. And when I stepped out of my house, I did an observation of everyone and the emotional environment, the mood of people. And it also tied to the fact that I've been around Nigerians for as long as I can remember. And so I was notified about the exhibition early February. I think I can't pinpoint the date, but I was notified about the exhibition early February, and I said, okay, fine. What do I do? So let me tell a story about Nigerians, and that's when I painted it. So it's titled "To Silently Admire Freedom." This is not it. I think it's the next one after this, and that is because to be Nigerian, you only, I don't even know if people imagine, but you only dream of things. It's like a bird in a cage looking at other birds fly around it. So that's what it meant to be. That's what it means to be Nigerian.
To you?
I think to a large number of us. Maybe we may not say it vocally. Maybe we may not be very expressive. Maybe we have coping mechanisms to go by our day and just act like, okay, I can deal with this situation for a couple of more years, or I can find a way to, like we do with Japa, we silently plan it so there's no witch or wizard that's going to come in between it, and then we escape. So we are always in a bid to escape, because everything we desire, admire, and we are is beyond our prison. And that's what that painting is going to be exhibited in New York at the East Village of Art Collections. And the starting price there is $5,000.
Interesting.
Yes, but that does not, like I said, it doesn't mean it's the value of the work. The work is priceless if you understand the emotion of the work. I wish you could come up so I did explain it better, but you would find the figure of a man on the left and the figure of a woman on the right. I had to use a white line expression on their details, and you could see him sitting. There's a fish bowl on his head, and there's just water in it but no fish. So it's that explains the feeling you have when your head is submerged in water. You can't hear.
Okay.
Whatever you say, no one can hear you either. So you're in silence. And he's staring at this woman who's she's dancing. She's in a state of harmony. She's a free self, and all he can do is stare, because that's why he's Nigerian. He's looking at the rest of the world, happy, free, expressing themselves, and he's constrained, and he doesn't know what that feels like. And I think in the write-up of the art, I made a statement where I said, even if he tastes this freedom, he's so used to being subjected, being submissive, being constrained, that he doesn't, the first response is fear of, oh, how long will this last? How long will this be forever? Can I be here for the rest of my life? Can I really? So it's a culture shock for a Nigerian to go outside this country, and we see things and we're like, oh, really? Is this
for real?
Is this for real? Is this really what life outside here is like? And some people, they even look way better before they return. They look extraordinary before they return. And you could see that the things that we call, the things that we deal with as trauma, they end up looking so normal there that our reactions to them are like, it's still a reaction of trauma. I was explaining to a couple of friends about some things I would actually bring up in the future as paintings. When things get better, not now because they may trigger people, but things we do not know are actually mental health issues that we go through, but we do not know. Say, for example, a Nigerian is driving by a petrol station. There's a ringing feeling to fill your tank, even if it's halfway.
Panic buying.
Yes, it starts ringing. Say you've had electricity for 4 days straight. Then your mind starts telling you, okay, this is not normal. But these things are normal every other place in the world. And so you see, we are now getting comfortable with the prison, so much so that when something else different happens, it's a problem. If if we're doing a business and it's going very smooth, we're like, at what point does my village people come in here? You understand? So
I understand.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, from everything you've actually said, it's obvious that your paintings are, the expressions are really, 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 really deep. I want to ask, do you sometimes, once you're done with work, do you sometimes look at your paintings and get scared of what you've done, of the outcome?
Honestly, yes. I'm not scared of the outcome. I am scared of the acceptance, not the outcome of it in physical nature, but rather the acceptance, because I'm in a society that is very political, very religious, and a lot of people claim to be very spiritual. So, yes, and it's not really the outcome. So initially when I came, there was a statement she made about the painting. I won't say it on air, but there was a statement she made about the painting, and I had to say, no, it's not about that. So the first thing people see when they see certain nudish works is, okay, that's where it's going to. And I say, no, you were born like that. If I have to identify you as a doctor, first of all, irrespective of whatever the outside look like, I will have to undress you to tell who you are. The last painting I did, which is called Between Reality and Hope, is it crosses a call across the politics in the world. So you had two figures. On the right, you had a male torso and a female limb downward. On the left, you had a female torso and a male limb down. And everybody was like, okay, have you started taking something you're not supposed to take? I'm like, no, I'm not taking anything I'm not supposed to take. I'm trying to explain to you that we are humans who, whether we like it or not, whether we don't like how this statement comes up, we are hypocrites down to ourselves. we deny the things we like and admire in front of everyone, and behind closed doors, we go searching for those things. And like I usually tell people, I say, look, you want to know Nigerians, come out at night. Don't trust anything they do by daytime. Come out at night, and you'll find everybody's true image and true color. And after the night, the next morning, we speak English, we greet each other very well, and we go about our daily business. So that piece, that last piece, it cut across the political issue of the left in the US, the religious issues we have in Nigeria. Like someone said on Twitter the other day, and we're talking, and it's like, it's so funny when it comes to conjugal relationships that we don't know tribe, we don't know religion. But when it comes to politics, everybody is just, oh, I am Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa. But yeah. I said, well, there you have it.
Interesting. So you mentioned your exhibition starts with $5,000.
Starting price.
Starting price.
So
okay.
From
Plateau. Yeah. I'm gonna get you later for that. So tell us, because Nigerians are curious. You know, I feel like right now we have gone to a stage where Nigerians are now appreciating artwork. You know, yes, it's becoming more relevant. You're seeing it at home, people want to see it. But then there's this point where you watch in a movie and you see someone putting a painting and there's like a million, trillions of dollars, and you're wondering how. Please explain to us.
What makes it that
What
valuable?
makes it, yes, that valuable?
Okay, most times when I meet young artists in Nigeria, I start questioning, I like, why do you do art? And they're like, I love to paint, I love to draw. Okay, but why? Why? Because I know the system we're in and it urges us to make money. So you may be skilled at something, but you want to give it some monetary value. And I'm like, no, this is, that's not it. So I don't know if it's spirituality, telepathy, or kindnesses, but there's some energy around not just art, but anything you do with passion. It may not give you the results you want immediately, but it waits to see whether you're doing it for the money or you're doing it from the heart. You're being very expressive, and most of us just do things for money. And I thought, look, yes, you'll be good at drawing, but you will not reach the real collectors who want to see these paintings and express it. So every day I go through a lot of research of a world of artists in the world. Recently there was this guy, I'm trying to remember his name, though, sorry, but he did a painting. They were not paintings, they were embroideries. He was in prison and he did embroideries with socks, yes, of the events that happened in prison. And these works are in galleries right now, and they are priceless. Because
socks?
Yeah, socks. Just threads from socks. He used it, embroidered images, and they're so small. You need a magnifier to view them. Whenever you enter the gallery, they give you a magnifier to view them, and they're very interesting works because he did works of prisoners being electrocuted. He did works of prisoners fighting. They were very unique. You know, they were very unique works. So when I meet artists, I tell them, I say, look, it may not pay at the beginning. It sounds foolish to do art in Nigeria. Yes. And I've heard a lot of people say, oh, my mom used to beat me when I was drawing. My dad used to tell me no.
Parents don't encourage,
yeah,
that's true.
They don't encourage that. And I told them, well, because they don't understand it. Basquiat's work sold for $110 million US. And if you pull up the image, you'll be like, what am I looking at? Yeah, but it's not the image per se, it's the story behind the piece and how the piece came about. So, art, people think art is decor. No. I hope this reaches to all Nigerians and young artists who really understand, and even the Nigerian collectors. Most collectors know this already. Art is not decor. Art is more of an asset. The United States of America spent close to $4 billion in World War II just trying to save art pieces from Italy and Germany that Hitler was trying to destroy. And that's to tell you how precious these things
Okay,
are.
well, you're talking about these climbs, right? When it comes to Nigeria, do you think the Nigerian government even, you know,
Need to pay attention,
do
okay?
they pay attention? Do they even care? Do they value the art?
There are two roads to this, though. I wouldn't ask anyone to ask the government to value art. The government, I don't care what anybody thinks about what I'm about to say, the government doesn't even value people. Why should they value art? So, if they can't value humans, why would they value art? I'm not waiting for the government to value art. It's people who value art. Because people are drawn to art emotionally. When it comes to my last exhibition, each of the pieces there sold for 1,000 naira in Nigeria, and someone picked the entire 5 pieces. Someone picked everything. It was at Jahi here, and I exhibited 5 pieces on the effects of pre-colonialism and after-colonialism on us. And those 5 pieces were taken by one person who saw the value in them, and irrespective of the price. So, and the person is not a foreigner, it's a Nigerian. And so there are people who love art, who have been around the world, who knows the value of art. And the funny thing is, so people don't know that no matter how much you pay for a piece of work, the very moment, if it comes to art, so long as you have the commission letter with the sign of the artist on the piece, and it's authentic, so long as you have that, the very day you buy it, the work starts appreciating in value. So any day it hits the auction market, what gives it that value is who's the artist? Where did the work come from? How long has the work been in the system? These are what gives it appreciation. They look at the style, they look at the symbolism. And you won't believe that, okay, Dora Akunyele's daughter, her work sold for $1 million in the US.
Huge.
Yes, and it was a work of some cut magazines in the shape of a man and a woman. The man is sitting, the woman is just behind him, husband, and it sold for $1 million in auction. And so Nigerians, don't be tricked by the fact that we said $1 million and like, I'll go into art. No, it does not work like that. It doesn't, because even the universe, God and everything, they see through these things. It has to come with passion. You have to, whatever you're painting has to come from within.
And people believe that, you mentioned that the longer the artwork has been in the system, the more it appreciates. People even think that some work tend to appreciate way high after the artist is long gone.
Okay, yeah, but gone, yes, very true. Vincent van Gogh sold only one artwork in his lifetime. And right now, all his pieces, there's nothing below $100,000.
But why is it like that, Joe? Shouldn't I be able to appreciate my work while I'm still alive?
Yes, because the problem with that was, back then, art was, like I said, more subject to the society and how people saw things. So people appreciated Michelangelo for the Sistine Chapel because it was a religious piece of work. But you won't appreciate Vincent van Gogh because as of then, they thought he was mentally ill. Yes. And so no one, saw the value in his work. But years down the line, we just realized this is one of the greatest painters history has. And that's because as of then, people were more religiously inclined. You come down to Africa too, as of the era, if you go to Ibuku in the east, it's where you have one of the best terracotta works in the world. And the white man came here. They went to Edo State. The things we saw as just traditional items, they saw as art, extremely valuable. And they stole these things and they took it back there. Some went into the black market and were sold for huge amount of money, which, funny enough, gives it extra value. Because now to recover it and resell it, even in the legal market, with all the stories being true, gives it way higher value. So the things most times you don't value, you get to see those who have greater knowledge of it valuing it. Young artists right now, I don't think anybody has to die for their work to be valued. although there's just something traditional about the death and the peace.
All right. Well, sadly, we have actually come to a wrap on this discussion. Thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak Extra to talk about art. In this manner. This is like a different type.
Really
yes,
deep.
well, that was Obiechina Stein John. He's a creative artist and also an entrepreneur, and his artwork cuts across all mediums. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, it'll be time for entertainment. Stay with us.